Good morning. And I'm talking about Saturn, Capricorn, Saturn. And I'm looking at the a book that I have. It's called the Astrological Dictionary by Edward Johndro. He's an older astrologer. And we're looking at some of the keywords. He offers a bunch of keywords, and that's what I'm looking at here in this video. I just did a video on Leo and the Sun, and I'll continue this series hopefully to finish out this book. So stay tuned for that. So we have Saturn listed as Father Chronos, time, form, stability. I build, mathematics, cold, earthy, negative, masculine, the buyer. That's interesting, mathematics. When I'm a Capricorn, and I don't have I'd say I have a decently strong Saturn. It is in Scorpio. But I was always good at mathematics, particularly algebra, without even trying. However, I never really I wouldn't say I was an expert or anything like that. I just remember doing well in algebra specifically. So let's take a look at some of these keywords. Well, before I say anything else, that I build is interesting too, because we know as Saturn and Capricorn is kind of like the ruler of Earth in a sense, and just look at the where the world is and how much people love to build. You know, just in general, society in general is constantly building. They're constantly working on something. Everyone here in the United States, everyone has to work 40. Like, there's almost no way around it. You have to work some 30, 40, 50 hours a week. The way everything is set up, there's literally no way around it. If you haven't thought deeply about this, one way or another, you're going to be working on a regular basis, working on something. And if you're not, you're going to suffer. So that's Saturn. That's the effect of Saturn. And let's look at some of these keywords starting here with A. Some of these words I don't even know, so I'm just going to skip. Abbreviate. Think of Saturn as being as restriction, abbreviation. I can't even think of drawing a blank on more words on that. Abbreviate. Abide. Abridge. Abnegate. Abstain. Abuse. Academic. Abstain. You think of some of these words, to abstain, to restrict. That's what that mean. That is what it's kind of like. We think of these big keywords like restriction, constriction, and then it's kind of here with these added words. Abstain. It's like getting into more specifics. To abstain. So anyone who's fasting, you see these people like Capricorn. I haven't talked too much about my history, but I've always had this kind of pickiness with food, and like never really had to eat a lot. It'd be easy for me to abstain from not just food, but abstain from pleasures. Academic. You think of Jupiter as being, academics, but Saturn, to be an academic, is kind of like a form of restriction, or a form of abstaining from life. You're just stuck in a room in the books studying and reading all the time. Accountable. I've heard this before. Accountability. People trying to make you accountable. I've worked jobs where they try to hold you accountable, and I'm like, I try to fight it. I try to deny it. Like I can hold myself accountable. I don't want someone else to hold me accountable, but that's what they're doing. They're especially at these. It's just about all workplaces that are really associated with Saturn. They want to hold you accountable, so they spend like 10% or more of their time holding people accountable. Thinking about forms you have to fill out, showing what you did, etc. That's all Saturn. This is like a really long one compared to the other ones. Afraid. Afraid's a good one. Fear, afraid. People that are really aligned with Saturn are coming from a place of fear. Just about all cases. Alone, aging, aloof. You think of Aquarius as being aloof, but Saturn rules Aquarius as well. Because Saturn, it can be, you could say it's aloof because it's taking its time too. It's cautious, it's fearful. So when we get into the details again, like we think of Saturn as being, I say, it's fearful, it's afraid. It's not necessarily like it's a bad thing. It's really we really have to consider all these words together. Like it's better to know all of these words than to just say Saturn is fear. Anchor, anchor. Anchor, like anchoring, like setting down roots, not moving, being consistent, not changeable. Anxiety, antipathy. Even people that you might think are not like Saturn oriented, like Saturn is involved. Everyone has Saturn energy running through them, and they might not show it in their outward life, but then like as far as like conforming to society, but antipathy. They're I don't even know if that's the right word, antipathetic, or their life is kind of the antipathy of society, and that's a form of Saturn. Apathy. That's what I was thinking. Apathetic, apathy. That's a form of Saturn. To be apathetic. It's like there's two sides to Saturn. It's like Saturn cares because it conforms, and then Saturn doesn't care because it is apathetic. So that's you think of Saturn or people that are part of society that do what society says and all that they care. And I challenge these people all the time. Like some of them, like they don't care, they're just conforming. And I think a lot of people miss that. Especially if they're coming from a place of fear. They don't care. They're coming from a place of, if I don't do this, so and so is going to say this, and I'm going to look like this. Has astrology listed here. The nativity. The nativity is Earth. It is what your natal chart. It is what you are confined to here on Earth. The life that you have to live. Austerity, autumn. Autumn. A lot of these people that love autumn, they're loving they're in love with the season that is taking them into the darkness, which is winter. But of course, they'll see it as Christmas and Thanksgiving. Bankrupt, bereave, bone dry, boulder, bottom. As I mentioned before, he's just starting to get into this now. He includes the other planets that will be connected to these keywords. So break, B-R-E-A-K, to break something. And then he has also Mars and Uranus. So when we see Uranus or Mars combined with Saturn, has the ability to break things. Debt, decrease, contract. Here's some of those words I was saying. Contract, contraction. Jupiter's expansion, Saturn's contraction. Capricorn will do this. This is what Capricorn will do for a purpose, though. For some kind of purpose to serve, usually to serve the self, because that's what we do as humans. Or you might think of, a higher level Capricorn to serve others. Will contract and conserve their own life in order to serve others. Cemetery. Cemetery is extremely Saturnian. see all these older people, Capricorn, they love their cemeteries. If you have any older folks in your family, if you're younger and watching this, they love, like my father, he loves going to the cemetery. When I was younger, I would try to take that away from him, like, what are you doing, etc. But now I just kind of I see it for what it is. Let him have his Saturnian joy. Chronic, cold, dark ages, darky, date. I don't know what he means by that. Date. If he's thinking about the calendar, dates are definitely Saturnian. Anytime you have someone who wants to live by an itinerary or loves their calendar, they are definitely attuned in that uh, during that time or in that way to Saturn. It's like that fear, and this isn't really a bad thing. I mean, this is something people have to learn to to use a to use the calendar correctly and be able to abide by an itinerary. But sometimes it's that fear. The itinerary is that fear of, well, I don't want to go into something not knowing what's going to happen. Dogmatic, economy. This list is so long because Saturn is so important. Delay. A lot of people don't, think of young people. Saturn is not. Saturn is older people. Young people don't like delay. They want to do it now. And as they get older, Saturn begins to enforce the pressure to be patient. Enslave. Faithful. Capricorn people are usually faithful. If you have, especially you're looking at a chart, they're really, if they have a strong Saturn, a strong Capricorn, it's not just the sun. I knew a guy recently who he had his girlfriend and he felt like he was ready to get married within 6 months. Homeliness, federation combined with Neptune. That's interesting. Saturn, Neptune. You see these giant, larger than life corporations or just larger than life things that are like federations. That's Neptune and Saturn. Forbearance, foreclose, impossible, impoverish, poverty. It's like people don't like Saturn. They don't like it, but they do. They like it in some ways. They don't like it in other ways because you need both. You need to have that balance. Negative. It's like negative here. Negative. Saturn is negative. People talk about, oh, you're so negative. You're so negative. Power of positivity. That's so misleading. Because if you don't respect the negative side, the negative polarity, yeah, in the short term you might feel positive. You might feel like you're in a positive space, but in the long term, not respecting the negative is gonna bring you there. You can only fake it for so long. Obeisance, nonchalance. See, a lot of people too, they'll like to look at things like nonchalance and say that's a bad thing. You need to be. Sometimes you need to be nonchalant. Nonchalant can save your life. Not reacting to every little thing. It's a good thing about Earth, and we think of Capricorn, Saturn. They're. I remember someone saying this to me to use it to my advantage. That kind of like wait, one guy was calling me, he was saying something about my face, like I was stone faced, or I forget the word that he used. And then another guy was saying, use that to your advantage. So you have two different perspectives there. Reluctant, so like I said, cautious, reluctant, perseverance, pessimism, another one, another negative one, like to be pessimist. That's the thing that people miss. We need Saturn. We need pessimism. It's the balance that that the expert or that the wise person has, the experience, Saturn experience, the shadow, the shackle, shade. And Saturn will save your life. Shade, if we didn't have air conditioning, if you ever sat under in a forest or under like a heavily wooded area in really, really hot weather, like where I am, it gets hot. Everyone's like freaking out because it's so hot. And all you have to do is go under a heavily shaded area and it feels amazing. That's Saturn. Sinister, superstition. Snake, combined with Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. I don't know if they're talking about the animal. I guess they are because there's snail. But snake, you think of what a snake is. It has to be combined. I think what he means, it has to be combined with Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Snaky person is undercover, genius-like, stability, stable, stability. This is what people have a hard time with Saturn, with stability. A lot of people too, they cling on to the father. Think about that. They cling on to the father. They cling on to other people who act as a surrogate father for them because that gives them stability. That allows them to be the unstable person that they may be, because that other person, their excessive Saturn nature allows them or supports them in their anti-Saturn nature. That's a whole other video. So I think I'm going to leave it there. There's a lot again, this is the Astrological Dictionary. Union is an interesting one. Like I guess that means marriage. You think Jupiter's being marriage, but you can't have the marriage is long term. That's Saturn. So much to unpack here that could really help us understand life. And then he has 3 keywords for the planets. Saturn, on your knees, versus Jupiter, plenty for everyone. Capricorn, try again. Wow, that's telling for my life. I don't think I've ever heard that before. Try again. Think of Capricorn as being I can't think of the word, like starting again, the fixed signs, the mutable signs, I don't know, it's early. I don't know why I can't think of the word, but you know what I'm talking about. Libra, Capricorn, Aries. So, hope you enjoy this and have a great day.